I was once an ordinary member of the noble class, but I abandoned my title and lands in my quest for knowledge. I made a new home for myself within the monastery's ancient halls, spending many years studying the shadows and reading about runes and rituals, perfecting my knowledge of the arcane arts. In time, my research evolved into the Arknight project. I sought to create a living weapon, a being who could wield both might and magic. In essence, I would transform a subject who had been born without Aether Affinity and unlock their ability to cast spells. When I found that a fresh body had washed up on the shore near the monastery, I knew that my opportunity had come. I had last found a vassal with enough strength to bear the agonizing procedure I sought to prove possible. Opening the chest cavity, I replaced the viscera with an Arknight shard, carved channels in bone to feed the arcane energy into runic vents etched into skin, and the first Arknight was born. Viserai.
Today we will be looking at Viserai Runeblood. If you don't know the fundamentals and general game mechanics, I strongly suggest watching the Learn to Play guides by LSS and visit the Heroes of Fab section for additional information. Link will be in the description. Viserai was first introduced in the Flesh and Blood set Arcane Rising back in late 2019. On May 2nd, 2022, Viserai as his young self officially reached Living Legend status, meaning he can no longer be played in the Bliss format, but at time of recording, he can still be enjoyed in all other formats. If you want to learn more about the Living Legend status and card legality, I will add a link in the description. The Runeblade class can wield equal parts magic and might. Split arcane and melee damage types creates a dilemma for how the enemy can defend themselves. If they do not have damage prevention cards or arcane barrier, the arcane damage will be unpreventable. Let's have a look at his hero ability. Whenever you play a Runeblade card, if you have played another non-attack action card this turn, create a Runechant token. Arcane energy flows through Viserai from the Arknight shard, which he uses to manifest an army of Runechant auras around him. They wait poised for the strike of their commander's blade to unleash piercing arcane pain on the target. A Runechant is a Runeblade token aura that says, when you play an attack action card or attack with a weapon, destroy Runechant and deal 1 arcane damage to target opposing hero. Viserai has a few weapons to choose from, but today we will cover 2. Firstly, Viserai's signature weapon is Nebula Blade. This 2-hand sword weapon can only be wielded by Runeblades such as Viserai. It mentions, once per turn action, for 2 resources, attack. If Nebula Blade hits, create a Runechant token. If you have played a non-attack action card this turn, Nebula Blade gains +3 attack power until end of turn. The second weapon, and most widely used with Viserai or any Runeblade, is the Rosetta Thorn. Note that at time of recording, this weapon is still available, but with Briar Warden of Thorns being on the very edge of reaching Living Legend status in Classic Constructed, this weapon may not be an option for very much longer. Once per turn action. For 1 resource, attack. Whenever you attack with Rosetta Thorn, if you have played an attack action card and a non-attack action card this turn, deal 2 arcane damage to target hero. Do note that if one of the conditions is not met, Rosetta Thorn will only attack for 2 physical damage. I will demonstrate some examples using the Nebula Blade and Rosetta Thorn in the gameplay. Let's have a look at some budget equipment that can be used with this hero. Aether Iron Wave says, action. Destroy Aether Iron Wave. Gain 2 resources. Activate this ability only if you have played an attack action card and a non-attack action card this turn. Go again. Additionally, this one can block for 1, and being battle worn, this will not be destroyed after blocking with it, meaning you can still use the action ability if not used yet. This is really a great budget option. Next, Crown of Dichotomy. Firstly, this one has Arcane Barrier 1. This will be extremely useful against heroes that can deal arcane damage such as wizards, illusionists, and other runeblades. Secondly, it says, Action. For 1 resource, destroy Crown of Dichotomy. Put target Runeblade attack action card and target Runeblade non-attack action card from your graveyard on top of your deck in any order. This can be very useful in certain situations, but be mindful that once you use this action, Crown of Dichotomy will be destroyed and all other aspects of this equipment will be lost. Lastly, we have Sutcliffe's Suede Hides. Attack reaction. For 1 resource, destroy Sutcliffe's Suede Hides. Target attack action card gains Go Again. Activate this ability only if you have played a non-attack action card this turn. Not played as much, but still a decent budget option. Snapdragon Scalers could be an option, but with Viserai's attack actions costing mostly 2 or more resources, this option is a little less appealing. As you journey with Viserai, you will have access to the Runeblade and generic card pool. Viserai will be after a balanced mix of non-attack action cards, with the majority of them having Go Again, and good impactful Runeblade attack action cards. Using non-attack action cards to turn Viserai's hero ability on will be key, and for each Runeblade card you play from that point forward will create you a Runechant. Splitting damage types between attack action cards and arcane damage can be quite difficult for the opposing hero to defend, without depleting all of their resources from their hand. Let's have a look at some examples of Runeblade cards that Viserai can utilize. Spellblade Assault is a simple 2-cost, block 3 Runeblade attack action card that says, create 2 Runechant tokens. Pair this one with a non-attack action card to create additional Runechants with Viserai's hero ability. Note that this one doesn't have Go Again, but there are certain non-attack action cards that can help with this. Shrill of Skullform says, if you have played or created an aura this turn, Shrill of Skullform gains +3 attack power. Since Runechant tokens are auras, being able to give Shrill of Skullform +3 attack power will be easily achievable. Next, we have Deadly Duet. When Deadly Duet attacks, if an attack action card was pitched to play it, it gains +2 attack power. If a non-attack action card was pitched to play it, it creates 2 Runechant tokens. Interesting card, with simple yet useful utility. One that can easily gain Go Again is Swarming Gloomveil. If you have played or created 1 or more auras this turn, Swarming Gloomveil gains Go Again. If you have played and or created 2 or more, it gains +1 attack power. If you have played and or created 3 or more, it gains, when this hits a hero, they can't prevent arcane damage from sources you control this turn. Runechants being auras, gaining Go Again will be simple, but combine this one with other non-attack action cards and Viserai's hero ability to push this one to the next level. Viserai has many extremely powerful cards at its disposal, but strong cards come at a high price. Viserai is able to channel the power of Runechants to reduce the cost of many of his cards by 1 for each Runechant he controls. Amplify the Arknight and Runeflash both will see its cost reduced by the Runechants you control. Amplify the Arknight does have greater attack power, but Runeflash has the bonus of having Go Again. Drawn to the Dark Dimension will also cost you 1 resource less to play for each Runechant you control, and it draws you a card. Being able to draw you a card is always great, but do note that this doesn't have Go Again on its own, meaning you will either have to find ways to give it Go Again or passing your turn and placing the drawn card in Arsenal if possible. Nightblade of the Blood Oath, for obvious reasons, you want to avoid playing at full cost, but if you can amass a good amount of Runechants before attacking, can be quite devastating for your opponent. There's a ton of other great Runeblade attack action cards, so make sure to have a look. Let's have a look at some great non-attack action cards that Viserai can utilize to help enable his hero ability. Read the Runes. Create 3 Runechants in red, 2 in yellow, and 1 in blue. Often played on off or setup turns, as this one does not have Go Again. Mavrian Skies. The next Runeblade attack action card you play this turn gains Go Again, and if this hits, create 3 Runechant tokens in red, 2 in yellow, and 1 in blue. Go Again. By playing Mavrian Skies before a Runeblade attack action, that attack action gains Go Again. Since we played a Runeblade card and another non-attack action card, Viserai's ability will create a Runechant. If your Runeblade attack hits, it will create the number of Runechants mentioned on Mordred Skies. The following attack will then trigger the Runechants. Revel in Runeblade. If you have played an attack action card and another non-attack action card this turn, create 4 Runechant tokens. At the beginning of your end phase, destroy all Runechants you control. Go again. This one can be an absolute bomb if set up correctly. Just be mindful that another non-attack must be played before, and you must be able to attack after to avoid losing any amassed Runechants. Mordred Tide. Until end of turn, if you would create a Runechant token, instead create that many +1. Go again. Being able to create an additional Runechant? Sign me up. Pairing Mordred Tide with other cards such as Mordred Skies and Revel in Runeblood is spectacular. This one will also trigger when a Runechant is generated from Viserai's hero ability. Lastly, we have Rattlebones. Banish target Runeblade attack action card from your graveyard. You may play it this turn. If you have dealt arcane damage to an opposing hero this turn, you may play Rattlebone as though it were an instant. Go again. On its own, it can help you fetch a Runeblade card from your graveyard, but where this one shines is the ability to play it at instant speed. For example, let's say you are attacking with 2 Runechants and amplify the Arknight, and the opponent decides to take the arcane damage. Noting Amplify the Arknight doesn't have Go Again, but since arcane damage was dealt, you can play Rattlebone at instant speed, and this card has Go Again, meaning you will gain an action point. All heroes have specific specialization cards that can only be played in their respective hero deck. At time of recording, for Viserai, we have Become the Arknight, Arknight Ascendancy, and Arknight Shard. Firstly, let's have a look at Become the Arknight. Choose one. Discard a non-attack action card. Search your deck for a Runeblade attack action card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Go again. Or discard an attack action card. Search your deck for a Runeblade non-attack action card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Go again. Want to replace a card type for another to fix your hand? Then this one's for you. Arknight Ascendancy costs 1 resource less to play for each Runechant you control. If Arknight Ascendancy hits, create X Runechant tokens, where X is the damage dealt by Arknight Ascendancy. Dominate. The Dominate effect means your opponent can only defend an attack with a single card from hand. This includes playing defense reactions from their hand. Note your opponent can still block with available equipment, as well as play defense reaction from their arsenal. Lastly, we have the Arknight Shard. When you pitch Arknight Shard, create a Runechant token. Being a Fable, the Arknight Shard is extremely rare and expensive. It is definitely not a must-have card, especially since it doesn't block and can only be pitched. Just a quick note, before moving forward, at time of recording, the most recent set, Dusk Till Dawn, has not yet been previewed, and we know it will introduce a new Viserai specialization and other cards, so unfortunately I won't be mentioning these today. You may see an image of some of them right now if these were revealed during editing. If you are considering playing Viserai, you will have access to higher quality equipment. There are a few options here, so I will only cover a few. Grasp of the Arknight. This legendary arm piece has been a staple in any Runeblade deck. Once per turn action, by pitching 2 resources, you can create a Runechant token. Do note that this ability will cost an additional resource to activate for each Runechant you control. It also has an unconditional block value of 2, meaning you can block 1 attack for 2, and on a later turn or other chain link, block again for 1, for a total of 3 block damage. Being a battle-worn equipment, Grasp of the Arknight will not be destroyed once block value has been used. Another arm option, we have Vexing Quillhand. Action: destroy Vexing Quillhand. Create 2 Runechant tokens. Go again. This also has Arcane Barrier, but note that if you use the action on this will destroy Vexing Quillhand. Spellbound Creepers. This legendary LEGO equipment says, once per turn instant, for 1 resource, put a bind counter on Spellbound Creepers. You may play your next non-attack action card this turn as though it were an instant. activate this ability only if you have attacked or defended with an attack action card this turn. At the beginning of your end phase, destroy Spellbound Creepers, unless you have dealt arcane damage equal to or greater than the number of bind counters on Spellbound Creepers. It also has an unconditional block value of 1. Do note, being a blade break equipment, when the combat chain closes, if this defended, Spellbound Creepers will be destroyed. I do have to note that this piece of equipment can be a little complex for beginners, but very rewarding once understood. We will give an example in the gameplay. I usually don't mention generic legendary equipment, just so we can showcase class-specific ones, but we'll make an exception today with Crown of Dominion and the generic action Cash In as they work in tandem. Firstly, let's have a look at Crown of Dominion. Your hero is royal. When you equip Crown of Dominion, create a gold token. First, it says your hero is royal. At time of record, the only card synergy with your hero being royal is Arknight's specialization Regicide. Probably avoid equipping it if you're facing this hero. The important aspect in your game plan is to create a gold token. Gold token says, action, 2 resources, destroy gold, draw a card, go again. Okay, by itself it's okay, but where this will shine is with the generic action card Cash In. You may destroy 4 coppers, 2 silvers, or 1 gold you control rather than pay Cash In's resource costs. Draw 2 cards, go again. Not only you avoid paying for Cash In with resources, but instead of drawing 1 from the gold token, you get to draw 2 cards from Cash In. This can lead to extremely explosive turns. We will have a look at this in the gameplay. Before moving further, I just want to give a huge shout out to Frank Karamaroudis for providing his expertise for the following gameplay. Make sure you check out Frank's channel at Frankly My Dear, where he interviews interesting people while he photoshops them in their favorite flesh and blood card. Link will be in the description. Alright, let's have a look at a few possible hands only utilizing equipment and cards introduced today. Our first example, we will showcase the Spellbound Creepers. Our cards are Revel in Runeblood, Runeflash Blue, Swarm in Gloomvale, and Read the Runes Red. Let's start by playing Swarm in Gloomvale at no cost. Note, Swarm in Gloomvale does not have Go Again, since no auras have been created yet. Our opponent declares no block. Let's use the Spellbound Creepers at instant speed. Pitching the Rune Flash, adding a bind counter on Spellbound Creepers. Now you can play a non-attack action as an instant. Let's play our Read the Runes. This will create 3 Runechants. Since we created 3 auras this turn, Swarm in Gloomvale gain all modes. It has Go Again, +1 attack power, and gains when this hits a hero that can prevent arcane damage from sources you control this turn. Let's say our opponent has no defense reaction, and Swarm in Gloomvale hits, meaning arcane damage can be prevented this turn. Great! Since we have our action point back, and we played an attack action and a non-attack action, we can now play Revel in Runeblood. This will create us a total of 5 Runechants, 4 from the Revel in Runeblood, and an additional Runechant from Viserai's ability. We now have 8 Runechants. With our last 2 resources, let's attack with our Nebula Blade. This will also trigger our 8 Runechants. Since we played a non-attack action, Nebula Blade gains +3 attack power, and on hit, create a Runechant. Nebula Blade will come in for a total of 8 unblockable arcane damage plus 4 physical damage. Our opponent here has no choice and must take the 8 arcane damage, but fully blocks the physical damage. That means no additional Runechants will be created. Now at the beginning of our end phase, we need to look at our Spellbound Creepers. It says, at the beginning of your end phase, destroy Spellbound Creepers, unless you have dealt arcane damage equal to or greater than the number of bind counters on Spellbound Creepers. Currently, we only have 1 bind counter on the leg piece. Since we dealt a total of 8 arcane damage this turn, we get to keep these around. We end our turn. This is a very good way to sneak a lot of damage if your opponent is not prepared and can lead to a lot of blowout turns. For our second example, let's pretend this is a different game and switch to the Crown of Dominion and Vexing Quill hand. And we will use Rosetta Thorn as our weapon. Let's demonstrate a typical turn with some setup. Our cards are Mauvrian Skies yellow, Shrill Skull Form red, Mordred Tide, and Deadly Duet blue. Let's start with the yellow Mauvrian Skies. This will give our next Runeblade attack action Go Again, and on hit, create 2 Runechants. Then let's play the Shrill Skull form. By pitching the Deadly Duet, we will have 1 floating resource. This will trigger Viserai's hero effect and create a Runechant. By creating this aura, Shrill Skull form will now gain +3 attack power, coming in for a total of 7 attack power and Go Again, and on hit, create 2 Runechants. Opponent fully blocks the attack, meaning no additional Runechant will be created. Let's then attack with our Rosetta Thorn, with the remaining resource. Since we played a non-attack action and an attack action card this turn, Rosetta Thorn will attack for an additional 2 arcane damage. It is important to note that this arcane damage is not stacking to 3. The arcane damage from the Runechant is a separate instance of damage that needs to be dealt with separately. We end our turn placing the Mordred Tide in Arsenal. This example is really the bread and butter of this deck. This lets you set up for the following turn and threatens a respectable amount of damage. You want to Arsenal Mordred Tide in this situation as it's only worth 2 or 3 extra Runechants, which isn't worth it when you can get probably 5 to 8 and even more on a more impactful turn. For our last example, let's ramp up the difficulty, have a bit of fun, and cash in the perfect hand. Let's continue from our last turn with the Mordred Tide in Arsenal. Our cards are Swarming Gloomveil, Become the Arknight, Cash In, and Rattlebones. Let's first play Cash In and pay its alternate cost by destroying the gold from Crown of Dominion. Then we draw 2 cards. Let's say these are red Deadly Duet and blue Shrill Skull form. Let's play the Mordred Tide from Arsenal. Until end of turn, if you would create a Runechant token, instead create that many +1. This will trigger Viserai's hero effect and create a Runechant. Then, let's play the Vexing Quill Hand action and create 3 Runechants, 2 from the Quill Hand and 1 from Mordred Tide. Next, let's play Swarming Gloomveil. Since we create a total of 4 Runechants, all modes will be active. Go Again, +1 attack power, and on hit, all arcane damage this turn will be unpreventable. Swarming Gloomveil will come in for a total of 4 Runechants and 4 physical damage. This will trigger Viserai's ability once more, creating 2 Runechants, 1 from his ability and another from Mordred Tide. Let's say our opponent takes all the arcane damage but blocks the physical damage to prevent the on-hit trigger. Let's break the chain and play Become the Arknight. We now have a choice of discarding either an attack action to get a non-attack from our deck or vice versa. Let's discard the attack action Deadly Duet and get the non-attack action Revel in Runeblood. Since we played a non-attack and an attack action this turn, let's break our Aether Iron Wave to gain 2 resources. Since we have dealt arcane damage this turn, we can use the 2 resources to play Rattlebones at instant speed, triggering Viserai and Mordred Tide again, creating 2 Runechants. Rattlebones will target a Runeblade attack action card from our graveyard and place it in our Banished Zone, and we may play it this turn. Let's say we have a Spellblade Assault, and this will be our target. Since we played Rattlebones at instant speed, it will not cost an action point, but when it resolves, you will gain an action point from the Go Again. Pretty neat. Now let's play the Revel in Runeblood. This will create a total of 7 Runechants. Yep, that is correct. 5 from the Revel itself, plus Mordred Tide trigger, then another 2 from Viserai's ability and Mordred Tide. Then, let's play the Spellblade Assault from Banished. Pitching the Shrill of Skull form, we have 1 resource floating. This will come in for a total of 13 arcane damage and 4 physical damage. Spellblade Assault will give us 3 Runechants, 2 from the card itself and 1 from Mordred Tide trigger, and 2 more from Viserai, Mordred Tide, for a total of 5. Let's say our opponent prevents some of the arcane damage and takes the 4 physical damage. With our remaining action point and resource, let's close this out by playing our Rosetta Thorn for 5 arcane damage from the Runechants and 2 arcane from our weapon, plus 2 physical damage. We end our turn. Mordred Tide really shines here, as it was worth 9 extra damage. Now, you might say that this is a little too good to be true, but with Cash in Crown of Dominion, Mordred paired with Viserai's hero ability, you can have some of the best turns in the game. Viserai is the first of his kind, an Arknight, gifted with both arcane power and physical prowess. As his creator searches for ways to bind Viserai to his will, the secrets of the Demonasteries threatens to spill forth as the ancient powers within stir once more. Viserai must find a way to break free before it's too late. This was Jackie for the Fab Workshop. See you next time, and thanks for watching.